Order, please. Call to order.
Oh, God, here we go.
Thank you.
I can't see you. Where you at?
Right here.
My glasses are fogged up
Put
already.
your mask up and you'll be able to see her better.
Sam's taken attendance, and we are going to do the approval of the minutes. I noticed that last week Travis was not on our roll call. Do we need to add him?
Yes,
Even
so
though
I
he
will-
entered late? Okay.
I will add that in.
Did everybody have a chance to look over the minutes? Approval on that? Any
I make a
questions?
motion, we approve the minutes with putting Travis in the minutes from last meeting, which was November.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
All opposed?
Motion passes.
Motion passes. Okay.
Beauty of the masks, you
We
can't tell
did
who did
approval of the
what.
closed session minutes. How do we do the approval of the closed session minutes when it was closed?
No, you skipped that. That was last time. Go to your agenda. So go to Public Works report.
Okay, we're going to go to the Public Works report, and that will be Mr. Steve Wilson. Take the stage, please.
Evening, everyone.
Hello?
All right, so month of December, kind of a slow time in the park. We got lots of cleanup done. Lots of Jeff and Bart and the crews got in there, cleaned out the basement of the park house, cleaned up the shop even more.
Upstairs is clean.
Yeah, well, the upstairs is clean now as well. PD's out of there. Jeff and his crew did some power washing down at Main Street bathrooms. Power washed the building, the soffit, some picnic tables, did some repainting. I have received a few phone calls about questions about bathrooms at like Pinkley Park. Starting to receive a lot of those. There's no facilities. Some of the guys are finding items that kids are using to clean themselves up in the area because there are no facilities.
Is there water down there?
In the street, so it's close. So apparently it's a growing concern down there.
Gary, what's normal? Like, what would be normal closing? Is it November, December?
It's going to be based on temperature. I mean, if it's going to be a warm winter, we can push further into it. If cold snaps are coming in and out, then we'll just shut them down.
And when do you reopen them? March?
Early spring, for sure.
Now, is there, if we were to put a bathroom facility there, is there a sewer hookup somewhere in there? You have to run the sewer line, you have to run water line?
It's in the street as well.
There might be one, because there was a house right there.
Yeah, but,
Oh, you put it in.
yeah, probably from the 1800s. and
Would a porta potty be an option, or is that not?
Money-wise, they're so expensive.
They are.
Are they?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They need probably independent turned over down there.
What about one like more like the parks use?
Yeah, it'd be just a single building, men, women,
Yeah.
something along those lines.
That's something we should look into because if it's, I mean, that's not healthy,
No.
what you're finding down there. And if it's doing that, that's going to literally spread, I would imagine, because people are just weird. You know what I'm saying? Well, I can imagine what you're finding.
maybe we should get a price for a building, whatever it costs. You know, an estimate.
I think with this weather being 53 today, you know, people are going out and taking advantage of what nice weather is, and they go to the park and then there's nothing open.
Right.
Well, and he's talking about Pinkley Park where there isn't
Okay,
anything.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
right, I think he was- yeah.
there anyway.
And that's what he was saying, that there's, public, and they have brought up concerns, there has been waste found, that there's evidence that somebody has been using nature as their building. So,
Well, I think kids have accidents, so then the parents just
Oh, yeah.
strip what they can and
now,
throw it off to
is
the
that
side.
something that the parks would have to put in, or is that a city issue, or what is that, who pays for a bathroom? parking down there.
It has to come out of some budget, and you don't have a full budget that could probably afford it. But it's going to be anywhere from 75 to 150,000.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Expensive.
Wow.
Because you want them, you want to make sure that they're stainless, they're, not destructible.
Oh, one of those?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought she was talking like a temporary.
I was just being in general.
Porta potty is going to be, what, 110 a month?
At least, yeah.
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 Wow.
It could be an interim strategy if we decide, we want to put a permanent one in. But you sort of can't have a park if you don't have a place.
Exactly, that's
to
what I
have a
was,
rest
yeah.
facility.
They kind of go together.
Really?
I never even thought about it not having it either.
I didn't either, but that's,
It's just a topic that's been brought up to my attention, so.
Well, it's a good point. It's a valid point. Even our parks that have the bathrooms that are closed, I see numerous people going up and it's locked. And kids, why do they have to be locked? I mean, besides, is it just because they're freezing or water, or is there something we can, I know, but does every bathroom in the state of Missouri close in the wintertime?
Not for heated.
Yeah,
Not unless it's a pit toilet.
Right, so I'm just saying
pit
that,
toilet.
well, that's what I was kind of thinking about for Pinkley.
A pit toilet along the creek.
Are you talking
Well, I
like,
mean,
are you talking like Bloomsdale, like their park up there? Like they literally have a building that's like they pay somebody to come and remove the waste
Oh,
out of it.
it's a cistern.
It's pit,
Cistern. Oh, not cistern, but a,
pit toilet.
well, that's something we need to look
It's a
into.
holding tank system.
yeah.
It's
state parks have them, and if they're frequently cared for, they're not that bad.
No.
But, they have to be routinely and frequently cared for.
They still smell.
Well,
Well,
yeah, but you
Well,
can
it's the
mitigate
chemicals they
that
have to
with
put in it.
various chemicals and
Yeah.
stuff,
But if you have an emergency, you still got to use them.
right?
I mean, just close your nose and just do your business.
anything else that you ran into this couple of months?
No, like I said, it's pretty slow up there right now. The mowing equipment is all ready except for one mower for the upcoming mowing season, so,
Which will be next week if the weather doesn't.
yeah, could be. So,
Everything's still going smoothly with the merge and all that good stuff? and-
yes.
That's good. That's good.
Do we do anything with the pond, like the water thingy? Do we remove it when it's getting cold outside, or just let everything be as is? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
The
Yeah.
fountain?
Everybody's staring at Gary.
I mean, the
There's been a
fountain?
couple of years in the past when it froze over enough and they went and played hockey,
Yeah.
that they removed the head itself.
Is it still removed?
No, it's on there right now. It's
That's why I'm
not frozen
asking,
enough
is
for
it
hockey.
something that needs to be removed, or just keep it as is until further notice?
I think that pond needs it. I think it needs to be going during the spring.
Oh, yeah.
summer,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, like during
Just to help with the
the
house.
next couple months when it's pretty cold tomorrow again.
Yeah, it's just turned off for the winter.
And another thing we kind of mentioned once was maybe putting a few carp in there, like maybe getting some albino carp, something that you can, so people can go down there by the pond and see some big
Fish,
and it would help with the algae and, just kind of keeping that thing clean a little bit.
Till the bottom falls out and then.
Well, it's all right.
Yeah.
They're cheap.
It is a sinkhole, so.
It is.
Why haven't we ever, I mean, I know it goes up and down, but I don't want to seem insensitive to the life of a carp, but if it does sink down, then you got to,
Then the
I've
birds
never
have
seen
to,
it go completely.
right, they would still survive, right?
They can be moved.
I think we should put some fish
If
in
it
there.
gets so shallow, you
I
can
would
just
think we'd
move
want to
them.
ask the Conservation Department what species would be the work in that kind of a situation and would eat the grass or.
Well, I know that pond, it turns every year.
oh, yeah, bad.
Every year it turns, all the fish die that are in there, majority of them, and it stinks for 2 weeks.
Especially
Yeah.
minnows?
Birds.
Okay.
Where'd they come from?
Birds.
Birds? Anything else, folks? Well, thank you very much, Steve.
Thanks.
You guys are doing a good job.
Thank you.
Stay warm. Okay. Old business? Master plan?
So we'll start with fundraising.
Fundraising committee?
We haven't done anything. Looking for $30,000.
36,000.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, movie in the park?
So we wrapped that up October. So Sean did reach out, as did, I don't know if it was somebody from City Hall or tourism, probably tourism. It was through the Visit St. John page. They were asking if we were planning on doing movie in the park come summer as well. So, I mean, I felt like it was a good thing. The community seemed to really enjoy it, and I think that if we continue to do it year after year, it'll just continue to grow. Yeah, so so I can respond back, or Ashley can if you haven't already.
I haven't really. I've been so caught up with some other things, but Sean and the library still have the licensing for Frozen movie, which was canceled due to weather several times.
Time to have it.
And so looking at possibly trying to find a rescheduled date before that license runs out.
Which is when? When does that?
I don't know. I'll have to check with Sean. I think it was good for a year.
I thought he said a
from
year.
the date, so
it was
I
like
would
the
guess probably end of May or June.
Yeah,
at least. So right now, it doesn't look like we'd be able to do anything before March, even if we had something indoor, just because of other commitments.
Did we pay for the license, or did the?
No, it's been donated and things like that through.
Yeah, Steve Potty did.
Yeah, Sean was working to get the donations on that, so.
So I know you had reached out to me, was that?
Yes, so.
I just texted you to update, because Sean had messaged me, emailed me in December, but with the holidays and stuff, it got away, and then something else got, I think maybe they messaged the Facebook page, and that's when I reached out to you two, because I know you had mentioned possibly the Oris as an indoor venue, if it was colder outside and things like
Yeah,
that.
which, you know.
And you guys have a bit on your plate right now, and so does Sam and I. So it's probably looking like March at the soonest, but we'll get with Sean and try to figure out a date.
All right, so it has to be after.
Yeah, late March, because you have this winter music series, so.
Oh,
Yeah. Which it would work out anyway, because I think it's March 13th.
Yeah, it's
something
like the
that.
middle of it, so it's the last one.
Okay, and then we start getting busy with just bookings.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll have to book it in between if it's
That works.
possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it'd just be working with Sean and whoever to, pick a date, make sure the venue's sufficient, whether it's, maybe the weather would be real nice too, who knows?
Yeah, also,
By the time we get around to
it
it.
can be a matinee
Yeah.
as well. It doesn't have to be an.
Yeah, there's just
I
a
would
lot
say
of
do a
details to
matinee.
figure out yet, but we'll look at,
Yeah,
work with
on
Sean to
Saturday.
figure out what
I
it
would.
be.
do it on Saturday?
Oh, yeah.
All right, that's great. All right, the professional fundraising.
Question here.
Yes, sorry, sir?
If we're still on fundraising,
Sure.
we don't seem to be arrived yet at a strategy for our plan. In the meantime, are there funds, there's a lot of talk about COVID money, and state has money they're allocating to various purposes, and, there's a lot of good ideas out there. Well, I think we're one of the good ideas. Is there any way we can get in line or make an application or be part of something like that? I understand that they're going to have a lot of money, for example, in the state recreation funds. Maybe we could make
I know this
another run.
Dean, you should say that, because I was thinking that on the way down, like surely there isn't COVID money out there to get us.
Oh, there's a lot of COVID money,
And how
but
do
there's
you
also
know?
a lot of hands out. Why shouldn't we be one of the people who are considered?
At least try it, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I was
Happy?
thinking about when I was driving down, like I was thinking that, but I have no background, I have no knowledge of how to do any of that, and I'm thinking I wish I did. I wish I was more proactive in that area, because we have just been spinning our wheels, and I'm thinking surely we can just ask somebody or put word out there to somebody that does good jobs at raising money for this or the schools, and not particularly having them join our board, because maybe that scares them, but if they're good in certain areas to do this, maybe they just want to volunteer some of their time to help us
Park could be
investigate
a
this
city
stuff.
function.
Yeah.
So what you've seen is the governor laying down what he's recommending that the state do. And so nothing's been finalized yet. No applications are out there. So we're following it, and we'll keep following it like we do with the Department of Natural Resources and their grants. But until something comes along that we can actually apply for, we have to wait and see.
So would that be under the first bill, not the Build Back Better, but the first one?
ARPA?
Pardon?
ARPA, the
That was passed,
American Relief Package or whatever it was.
well, the one that's for the rivers and roads and bridges and stuff, that one. I
That's
mean,
the IIJA, which I don't remember that has any application to parks directly.
okay.
ARPA funding, I think they're loosening up on what they're allowing there. They came out with the final allowances, and parks were eliminated to begin with. It was just infrastructure, which was water, sewer, and
Yeah,
broadband.
infrastructure.
So parks was eliminated from that. I mean, they weren't included. Looks like they've opened that up a little bit more. So, I mean, we'll just keep a watch, and it depends on the interpretation that somebody has as to whether they'll allow it to be used for it or not. And then all the COVID money that was out prior to that had to be used by the end of last year, so that's all gone. So any of those improvement money, it's either been spent or returned. And then with the IIJA, which is the improvement package that was passed, a lot of that is more geared toward roads and, again, broadband. There's a few other sections that I'm blanking on at this moment, but I got it in the office. We're sitting and waiting. Nothing's, and some of that is, there's a large amount that's been dedicated, but it hasn't been authorized yet. So there's some complications that will come with that as the years go by, with what the government allows or doesn't allow. But it looks like there's going to be some infrastructure money, so that may lend itself more towards making sure Matthews is still a good road. Maybe we can get some trails as part of that. Whether recreation equipment's going to be included, I don't know.
Is this something that our state rep could help us with? If
No, I mean, they know about as much as we do as to what's going to be allocated. Again, there's no applications. It's just that the money's there. The state has it. Same as what we have. We have our ARPA money. It's in our capital improvement account. We're going to spend it on certain things, but I mean, we don't have it. We haven't. Well, let's take that back. We've only spent a little bit of it, but we've got $400 and some thousand in this first tranche that we'll be spending. But it has to be along the lines of what the fiscal recovery funds are allowed to be spent for.
Sure.
So same thing with the state. The governor has listed what he wants, but they haven't been able to go through it yet and say, okay, here's how we're going to allocate it. So the state rep isn't going to be able to tell you any more than what I know, except he was at the State address.
Well, I got an email from the Missouri Parks Association, and they're very pleased that the governor is recommending millions of dollars for the trail that is going to sort of be the south of the Missouri River companion to the Katy Trail at Grand Island, like 50 million or something like that. Well, if they can do that for a trail, I mean, it's a great idea, but maybe they can do something for municipal trails. I'm just thinking out loud. We should.
Maybe we should write the governor a letter and suggest that. Say, hey, can you allocate some money for, municipal trails with this? And just ask. I mean, it wouldn't hurt. They can always say no.
Is it also maybe somebody just sitting down and just going anywhere, just not you, but like us, just going to state parks, Missouri, Department of Commerce, all that, just combing through every little thing we could possibly do? You know, it's time consuming, but, you know, it's not going to come to us. We're going to have to go to it and look for it. And, I mean, we're just, here we are again, back to square one. Like, are we going to raise money to get this fundraising, professional fundraising, or are we waiting for grants, or, you know, we got to do something, or it's just not going to get done. And I just wish I had more skills to do that, or to know what to look for, or what to search
me
for.
too.
You know, it just is frustrating. But maybe if we just,
Well, here's the good news. We are in a cycle of big public spending. And, you know, there's some negatives associated with that, but there's some positives. And we should look for the positive, I think.
I
That's all.
agree.
And we've got people that we've connected with that we want to make these improvements. So they're looking for that money so that we could use. So we've still got those folks out there looking as
Good.
well.
We like those folks. Do we know who those folks are?
Just everybody that we've contacted about playground equipment, improvements to parks.
Okay. I know, I was thinking about getting a hold of Deidre again, just to touch base with her, and that's the lady from Little Tykes, right?
I think so.
Farmington?
Kendra.
Kendra, yeah, not Deidre. Kendra, sorry.
Close enough.
Okay. What did we touch, huh?
Oh, I think that's it for fundraising. Yeah,
Okay.
so you go to Trail Committee.
Trail Committee,
So we are reapplying for the RTP, the River Trails Program, through the Missouri Department of Natural Resources, again for that 650 feet that we want to improve between the big pavilion and the small pavilion. We have matching funds from the Community Foundation. We have money that's in our fund, our infrastructure fund. We're anticipating it to cost about $73,000. We'll have to have engineering done for less than about $7,300. That's a requirement. We have the Donzies reviewing the application to make some tweaks to it. If we do not get the grant, they will not charge us. If we do get the grant, then we'll pay them for the hours that they put into reviewing it. So I think it's a bargain. They've given me a list of 18 items to make corrections on, and we're also doing a survey currently so that we can update that information, and that's part of the points that we would get, saying that we have had public involvement with the process.
Is that the follow-up survey on Survey Monkey? Okay, I did that today. I've seen it on Instagram.
Yeah, so we've posted that survey to our social media channels. And then I need to still send it out to you also. I'll do that tonight. So you guys have it in the morning. You guys can send it out to whoever you want that lives in the city, the county, or frequents St. Genevieve and the parks. It's a pretty simple survey. There's a couple questions that might sound a little familiar, and that's, again, just trying to reiterate that the public input and make sure that we're also kind of on the right track with our prioritizations and things like that. But I'll send that link out to you all via email so you can take the survey and share it in whatever ways you can.
and just for your information, on a phone, it's a lot hard, it's kind of hard to navigate your ranking it, so I was thinking, man, if I was on a computer, I'm sure it's, because it's confusing.
Because you got to go down and hit OK.
Well, no, it's the 1, 2, 3, when you're,
Right, when you got to slide them up
Yeah,
into
you
the
can
little...
Or you can change the number.
Yeah, after
But when you can see them all on the same screen.
right, because I'm like, I know there's more, but then it wouldn't because it was slide, but,
Yeah, because one of the questions on there is we listed out the many projects outlined by the master plan and asked people to kind of prioritize them based on their preference, so that'll help guide us in future with the phasing and whatnot, so.
yeah, overall, it's a really good survey, though, again, so I've shared it a few times as well, just going to keep sharing it.
Takes about 10 minutes. We've had 50 people surveyed so far, about 50. We hope to get around 100. I don't think we'll get as many as we did in the original survey, but if we can still get a decent amount, then we'll include it with our application, which is due February 16th, and we're going to be sending it probably next week.
When did this follow-up survey come out?
Today.
We put it out.
Yeah.
We put it out last.
Oh,
Yeah,
Monday.
I posted for the second time on our Facebook channel today.
oh, okay.
But it came out,
was
I
last
think
Monday.
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Yeah.
Oh,
We
okay.
we had
Wow.
posted it originally, and I've just been so swamped with some other things outside of all this stuff. But I'll get that sent tonight, so you guys have tomorrow. It'll close on Saturday.
Well, I saw it tonight for the first time.
I did
so
too.
No, it's out there then. I mean, it's
Yeah.
getting out there.
Yeah.
I
So
just saw it
that's
today.
good. Huh. I wonder where that came from.
Yeah, and I shared to our Instagram as well.
That's
Trying to reach some new people, so.
So Ashley came up with a number of questions, and that's what we put it together. Made it so it wasn't too long, because we could have made it 20 minutes long, and you probably would have said, "The hell with this." So, we cut it down to what we thought was the important questions, and that's what's included on there. And again, this will help with the points that we need to garner to try to get some funds from the state for this.
Well, that's good. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Playground committee, I haven't met with anybody, so sorry about that. But like I said, I'm going to get a hold of her. That's going to be my goal. Things are calming down at work for me a little bit. Finally got good staff and all that stuff, so I have a little bit of time that I can dedicate to other things besides work, so, all right. Bathrooms? No word on the bathrooms, except that Pinkley Park would like to have one. Let's just add that to our list.
Well, and I think as we look into what we might want for Pinkley Park, we can probably price out some different options for Pierre Marquette, because we had talked before about possibly doing those pre-built, prefab units, and where you basically just have to do the floor and the plumbing and fit it all together. So as we look into that, we might have to ask a few more questions to see what a bigger option would be for Pierre Marquette.
And it would all match, at least, pretty much so. But that does, I mean, that needs to be addressed, that Pinkley Park situation, I think. Or included in our master, if we can extend it out to the master plan, I think. All right, new business.
Happy, what do we know about the bicycle thing that's happening on April 9th?
So the city, which is, I was going to give you that.
I'm sorry.
No, that's good.
That's all.
City is hosting the Stg Gravel Classic. So there is if you're all familiar with TrailNet out of St. Louis, I've dealt with them on occasion. Usually it's with studying and coming up with plans for trails in different cities. And they've worked closely with Green Rivers Greenway up in St. Louis County, developing a number of trails up there. So they organize bike rides or bike races. And one of the areas that we have that is not around the state is a good gravel system to ride bikes over a long distance. So there was a gentleman that had taken a bike ride up on the levee and then was riding out 61 and some of the gravel roads south, had videotaped it on his GoPro. Jeff Wicks had seen it, contacted him and said, "Hey, can I use some of this for any advertising that we want to use?" And at that point, it started snowballing into TrailNet saying, "We'd like to do a race in St. Genevieve, or to start in St. Genevieve. It'll start and end here, and we can make it 20 miles, 40 miles, 80 miles long." And sure enough, they've set it up so it's 20 miles, 40 miles, and 80 miles long. That's looping around. So it will be on the 9th, start down on Market Street. Market and Main will be the start. Work their way down Main Street and then get on Division, Stormy Crawford Way, and then that's when they get on the levee, work their way down, going south towards Perry County, through Illinois, and then looping back up back up this way and wrapping up on Market Street. They're anticipating 150 bikers. So they'll come in that day and bike, or we might get them in the night before. So this is very much a tourism kind of project. We're trying to establish some sort of event the night before, so we can try to get them here with their families. But this will be probably about a 6-hour, 7-hour event, because it'll take the bikers that long, especially those on the 80-mile route, to get back into town, which they expect them to probably all be done about 2 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But this was something that was put together by TrailNet. They're doing much of the organizing. We're having to look for sponsors for bathrooms everywhere. Other T-shirts, other things that need to be incorporated with this. But it looks like it's going to be a yearly event. One of the places that they do this often is Kansas. Kansas is great, but it's flat. One thing about St. Genevieve County, Perry County, there's hills. And there's some challenge to it, and that's what they really feel like there's going to be a lot of people that will be interested. And we may see an increase in that over the years.
What was the date of that again? Like April?
9th. There's a website.
Yeah, I've looked all over it. It's exactly what your son was trying to bring here. And I'm wondering, that's why I even commented.
And I told him about it, hoping he would bring his team from Indianapolis, but there's a mother race that day in Georgia. So you're going to have some people go in the opposite direction. It's kind of like I've been saying all along, people that cycle have their year planned ahead of time. They hit certain big races. So I told him, just put this one on your map next year or following year.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, and I could
that's why you guys were looking at potentially May as an option because of the way the schedule had planned out for the typical bike season.
Yeah.
Well, that, and this is gravel, there are some guys that wouldn't dream of driving on gravel, and there's others that love gravel, you
Well,
get at your different
it's a
groupings.
different style of racing. Like my son picked up gravel riding because they told him it would help him become a better cyclist when he does his road. If you can ride on gravel with all the little rocks and all the things and the distractions along the way, it will only make you a better cyclist. So you'll draw a lot of people that will do that. And I did look it up. It is, you're going to have some novice people that have never ridden before. They're like, I can do 20 miles. And there's no time limit. You can just take your sweet time. But the ones that are doing, I think it's 78.
Yeah, they go
Those
way
are your
down.
serious cyclists.
Yeah, did
Those
you
are-
see that route down in Perry County? And, it's a pretty good route. On gravel and stuff, I'm like, wow.
I believe my son has ridden the exact course that these guys came up with. There's ways to, most of them have this computer gadgets to where they can say to the computer, I want to do 100 mile. And the computer will give you the best route to go. You want gravel, you put the word gravel. You want road. There's like not much thinking process. That's why this young man that did this course, he probably did the same exact thing. And this is the suggestion that they gave him.
When you said you guys are they are looking for sponsors, have they reached out to?
We haven't reached out to anybody yet. We're still in the early stages of this. It'll be soon when we start contacting folks. That's Jeff's responsibility. We just aren't having to organize it. TrailNet's doing the organization, putting the website up. Jeff will be getting out with sponsors here soon to talk to folks.
Well, is there any way we can make money off of it?
Oh yeah, your restaurants need to be aware.
No, I'm talking
I was
about
just gonna say,
the
happy
park.
if there's a way for the parks to be involved for the event the day before, whether it's up at Pierre Marquette or even closing down the side road of Main Street Park, and using that area. If there's something parks can do, I'm happy to help work with Jeff and you all.
What TrailNet wants to try to use is either the Lions Club Park, since it's on market,
Yeah.
or we use the parking lot over at French Colonial.
Well, I didn't know about you mentioned possibly doing like an event the night before, like tourism wise.
Yeah.
And things, because, TrailNet's probably going to have so much of this figured out that there's probably not going to be a lot for us to super capitalize on the day of as a parks department, but maybe we can help just invite them into the town a little bit. smoother.
We just need to get the events lined up.
Yeah.
So I think with the way, I'll talk to Jeff, let him know that he can have some assistance maybe. But yeah, he'll be organizing something for that night before.
The one thing that most people don't get is that you might have 150 cyclists, they're gonna come with about 800 people. And the people that are staying, like myself, when I go to watch my son, I can't go anywhere, so I stay. So if we can, let's say we wanna do concession and sell coffee and donuts that morning, then you're gonna have 400 or 500 people without anything to do or anywhere to go. And if you got food for them, then they don't have to go to McDonald's. Does that make sense, to go get breakfast?
Well, yeah, that's why I was asking,
Yes.
is there anything we can do? We could take Main Street Park, sell concessions all day, have live little music, to, just something. I'm just,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
also want to promote our businesses, so we do
Correct.
have
Right.
places that have.
Absolutely, yes.
So,
But I'm talking about, most of your races start at 8 o'clock, but then registration starts at 6:30. Beside McDonald's, nothing is open at that time. But if we have coffee and hot chocolate and
Well-
donuts, for example, we might as well
yeah,
make
and
money.
I mean, being a restaurant, they're only going to stay and eat, they're not going to sit there and hang out at a restaurant all day, but they would hang out, like if there was music. They could do both, I'm not saying we're going to take away from me. That's not all, but if there's some way, even if we sold shirts or something, but this is a good opportunity for us to do something or make a little bit of money and not go overboard, not make it too hard on us, but if they're all going to be here in town, I think Main Street Park would be a great place to have something going on, even if there was still something in Lions Park too. But like I said, we could talk, just let them know that we're on board to do something.
The one thing the website states strongly is they need a lot of volunteers.
Yeah, that's what my next question
A
is.
lot of volunteers.
Do they bring their own,
that
or
is, yeah, that's the guiding force behind that. And those people that are interested in that type of sport, they're the ones that will get the volunteers.
that's good.
Yeah, because they've got a couple of places for resting or getting
Correct.
water, so they've got to have those manned.
And sometimes that's just as important as trying to sell something. When you can be a part of other local organizations in a helping manner, that's just a bigger invitation for people to want to come help you when it's your time. So definitely feel free to volunteer if there's something you feel you can contribute to them, because it's good karma.
Yeah, oh, I get it. That's why, is there meetings, or how does this work with
No,
them?
there's no meetings. The city is part of the organizing group, so.
It is?
Yeah. And
Okay.
tourism is our arm at this point of getting this organized.
Well, this is
There's a fee to enter. This is not a free race.
right.
There's a fee, and then the fee will go towards the insurance of hosting the place, hosting the event, trophies, medals, whatever they choose to give out, and awards.
Yeah, I can go. Okay, well, that's exciting news. Hopefully it'll bring in a lot of people, and they'll be really nice people. We want nice people coming into town.
And these people don't care. The more miserable the weather is, the more they love it. So this is not a rain not happening. This is rain is happening, because gravel will only get better and harder when it's, I don't know, they just love it. My son did a 75-mile race last week. He said it downpoured the entire time. I said, what did you do? He goes, loved it. Hit the potholes and just kind of, well, I was like, okay. I'm glad I wasn't there.
Okay, any other new business? Moving on. Do we go in this chamber?
Yeah, I do have an update about the chamber information. It is currently the leadership program that they always do. They usually do 8 sessions, so it's once a month. It has kind of been put on hold right now. Several of the larger corporations that they tend to go visit, like Wholesome, Limekill, Lawast, all of those, several people have backed out. and others were kind of wishy-washy. They weren't sure where they stood with things. I think Dina said, the city said, they were fine as long as, everybody just have to wear a mask. So I told her that the park board was still on board. I mean, what we had planned to do was outside anyway, aside from reviewing or presenting the master plan to those that attended. So it's on hold until, I think we're going to look at it again around April and see if, things have changed and we're not having to go through this again, and maybe bring it back up. So everything's on hold. So as soon as I know more, I'll let you guys know.
Well, good, but she still knows we're interested.
Yep.
That's the main thing. All right, that's good. That'll be fun, because that park needs some cleaning up. I mean, we were just there again, looking at it, and, Ashley, you had brought up the idea of the screening for the trail instead of the mulch and everything.
Valley Springs.
Yeah, I was wondering too, is there not a group of trail maintenance people that you can get a hold of? Didn't you do that before, Gary, years in the past? Okay, maybe it's one of my hiking things, that they're volunteers that come in and help repair trails. And that's part of the trail at Valley Springs is just completely washed out, that far.
Yeah, there's room we need to get the water to drain down better where it's washed out, pretty much make that where the water drains, and then move the trail over a bit.
Yeah.
Because there's room there, just need to remove a few smaller trees, and then we can have the trail right there.
A lot of my thought process on replacing, changing the surface of that was to put a more ADA-friendly surface in there. And as we did that, kind of level it out. It's a fairly accessible trail if it were a more solid surface. As far as slope goes, it's pretty accessible, except for around the bridge, it would probably need to be built up a little bit. But what I was thinking was, if we could do something a little bit more solid surface in there, allowing more accessibility to other members of our community, I think it would open up a little bit more recreation that we don't currently offer in our parks as far as accessible trails. But also having a small trail like that, we could maybe do, there's an event that a lot of other parks do called the Story Walk. And if they have a small trail, what they do is they buy this book, and so
Sean has actually talked about doing that.
But there's just not a great loop in our community to do it, except for that park would be perfect. But I would really love to make it something that is truly accessible to so grandparents that might be wheelchair bound can go out there with their grandkids and enjoy it. If we did a rotating storybook, what a story walk is they take a storybook, and it might change out every month, and you take the pages and you laminate them or put them in some sort of display case that is set up along the trail, like a couple pages per case. And so as you go on this walk, you get to read a children's story. And it's a really popular activity in a lot of other parks, something that's relatively low cost once everything's set up. It depends on how you do your display, but you can find ways to do that pretty inexpensively. And I think it just doing things like that would better strengthen our relationship with the library, and just give a little something else to our community that doesn't currently exist here. So that was kind of my idea with the changing the surface from mulch to packed screening. Packed screening would be a more ADA-friendly surface that is a potentially manageable cost for us.
Where is that done anywhere else in town at the moment?
What's that?
The trail that's up the screening.
Yeah.
My garden used to be. Remember how my garden used to be?
And is that something that these guys would do?
I mean, we would just have to work out the details if that's something you as a board would want to entertain.
Because, I mean, there's something that has to be done because the drainage is bad. The mulch just washes away all the time at that one area. It's just a mudslide. But I think something would be nice to have a harder surface in there. I like the natural mulch and everything, but like you said, it's costly, it just washes away, it doesn't, the moles just tear it up like crazy. I think in the future, it would be kind of neat to have a harder surface, at least that upper part even, you know? Not so much down in the natural area.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about, is that upper part, you know, you start at the, you know, I don't know how to, I'm a little directionally challenged and trying to explain this right now. But,
Well, the entrance has
you
two
start
trailheads.
at the entrance of the parking lot, you can go either direction. If you go kind of towards the direction of roads, you pass by the balance beam there, and you walk around the monkey bars and go that way, back behind the shed and the swings that are back there. And then you kind of come up on the side of the parking lot again, and then just follow the, you know, you don't have to go down at all. And I don't remember what the distance worked out to be whenever I just used a phone map, but I want to say maybe a quarter of a mile. If that
That
sounds
one loop?
about right for that
Yeah.
for that upper loop, it's pretty close, I think, to a quarter mile. So it's like, I think that would be a perfect size for some small activities and just a small, safe place to walk that isn't too inclined.
Well, and if you have toddlers, that's all they're going to be good for anyway, you know? Oh,
Yeah, or, you know, Pierre Marquette, when we get the trail built, like, we're going to rework some of the slopes, but you're still climbing some pretty good sized hills there. By the time you finish it, it's going to be a really long trail, so. But,
That's okay.
Meeting adjourned?
so yeah, I think if it's something that the board wants to entertain, I'm sure I can maybe get with Steve and stuff, and we can probably figure out some cost estimates or.
Would you guys like to entertain this? I would.
I think so.
Absolutely.
I mean,
I used to be kind of like, not against it, but I thought, it's not necessary. But that upper part definitely needs addressing. Even by the fence line at the road's end, that's kind of gone astray. It's all grassy and it's not even really mulched anymore. So that would be kind of cool. And I would like to get in on that too. Please. Thank you.
The screenings will also wash away if you don't regrade some of that washout area. In
Yeah.
other words, it needs re-engineering.
Yeah,
Not a
exactly.
huge project, but it does need work.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
Well, the big washout area is on the bottom part of the trail.
Right.
So, but yeah, screen would work pretty good. Lime cone makes it.
And it doesn't decompose quite like the mulch.
heck down.
Pack down, yeah.
Pear Marquette, it didn't work good for the T-pad.
Yeah.
Because lime likes to let stuff grow, and the grass just took it all over really quick. But Valley Springs, I think with it being so shaded, it probably, you wouldn't have summer grass growing into it like you get, you know, the zoysia, Pear Marquette, that stuff just, it takes over everything.
It's like kudzu.
But I think that probably worked pretty good.
Okay, any other business?
Can I say something real quick? We have one for sure, maybe two boys that will get their eagles by summertime. And I'm not saying they want to do something in the city park, but if there was something to do, is there anything they can do as a project?
Fix the trail.
It was in a couple of years I signed them up for our trail, and we could use that as points towards our grant. The problem is, it's not going to happen until 23 or 24.
Yeah. Hopefully there'll be somebody else that comes along then.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I know they put, bat houses, and they've done a project here or there, or is there anything that, and it doesn't have to be done, like, you don't have to tell me today, just think about it.
Well, isn't part of Eagle Scout, isn't that part of their job to think of something
It
themselves?
it
or-
is, but sometimes they don't have a clue, so we're trying to kind of gear them in the right direction. If there's
Wasn't
anything
there
they
a
can
project
do.
at Valley Springs Park when we
Something
walked through it that we
that's
talked
very
about?
pervasive along our waterways
There was like
is Japanese honeysuckle,
bridge.
which is invasive.
Yeah.
If they could do anything to eradicate that, would be a huge thing.
All right.
It's got red berries right now.
Yeah, it does.
Anything you say with red berries that you want it out of your yard. You want it out of the woods, you want it,
They can build bathrooms.
Each one of them gets a bathroom.
yeah.
There you go.
They can
They gotta figure
engineer,
out the budget.
engineer for a path for screening.
There's multiple things they could do with the disc golf course if they wanted to.
Double screening.
Like making,
Mulch removal crew?
doing like a landscape
We could get that going.
around one of the baskets somewhere, you know, or, I
Or,
mean,
you know, as
doing one of the tee pads, doing some landscaping around it or something like that.
Oh, yeah, put a flagpole.
taking it down.
Put a flagpole at Main Street. No.
Speaking of landscaping and stuff,
More than one flag.
what is happening with that bridge at Valley Springs?
Make it a,
Well, we need to figure out the tree that's fallen.
turn into
I mean, why isn't somebody just down there cutting it? I mean, I'll bring a saw and just cut that off. Can you guys address that? Because you can't even walk on that bridge anymore, is it?
Well, it's a big limb that goes way up into the tree.
Can't it just get trimmed off? Don't you guys have a saw?
Well, cut a rope on it, go down there and pull it down.
I've tried swinging on it.
Jesus.
Well, it's in the
Well, I mean,
way.
that bridge, honestly, is probably not safe at the moment right now. The whole right-hand side handrail's like,
So what do we do about that? Do we remove that bridge, or do we have, was that an Eagle Scout project, or was that a, does anybody
I was
know?
thinking that's a fixer-upper for an Eagle Scout to do.
There you go.
it needs to be addressed.
It does need to be addressed. I mean, it's a safety hazard. It's, kids can go down, somebody can get hurt. It's just, and it's just
I
kind
mean,
of
kids
tacky.
go down there and graffiti it right now.
Yeah, well, nothing new has come up lately, I've noticed, but I just think it looks really tacky. It's a bad, it just looks bad. And it's just a matter, I think, getting down there and cleaning it up with the saw and stuff. I mean, at least to get that hanging stuff off, it's not gonna be that, and then address the serious, more, the trees and all that stuff that need to be trimmed up. But that area, either that bridge needs to be boarded off and not just with caution tape that's already blowing all over the place or
Well, I
something.
think the kids that graffiti took the caution tape and ripped that down.
It's tape. Anyway, if you guys wouldn't mind looking at that, that'd be great. Thank you. Anything else? Thanks for joining us, Travis.
Well, I don't know, was there discussion about fundraising?
Yeah.
Briefly,
Okay.
Do you have ideas?
Well, have we made any kind of online campaigns at all?
We haven't done anything on it.
Okay.
No.
Because initially, I was thinking simply creating a GoFundMe page. You just create a page on, yes.
So, we do have an account set up through the Community Foundation with the county to allow tax deductible donations from the public. They contribute, it's directly for the park improvements. And so we have that link on our social medias. We have, when we first got it set up, when was that, early last year?
Yeah.
I think. Early last year when we got that set up, we did send it through our social media channels, but we were kind of hesitant on doing too much without a formal strategy, or without a more formal strategy, while we're trying to figure things out. So if we have little events and stuff like that, where we raise a little bit of money, we put it in that fund. But there is a fund set up that would essentially take the place of what of a GoFundMe. We would just have to strategize with blasting that out to the public a little bit more.
Right, and so what I was thinking was having some kind of Facebook page where people can go donate, but also where they can see the incremental growth of the funds, you know, and we take, I don't know if we have a price priority list on which projects we want to do first. But if we set, goals and say, hey, we're reaching our splash pad goal this month, join in and help us reach that goal, and just be very communicative about it, and make an actual campaign of it, get more people on board. I forget what the numbers were exactly, but if you divide the number of people in the county by what if everyone gave $250, you're going to get close to your budget. Obviously, not everyone's going to be able to give that, and not everyone, and it didn't have to be all at once. You could say, give $1 a day for X, for 250 days this year. Or you can support by giving $15 a month, or whatever the case may be. When you break it down like that for people, it makes it so much more attainable. When you just say, we need $4 million to complete all this, it's like, that's so out there. But when you break it down into bite-sized chunks, the old adage, how to eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? So if you break it down and make it more attainable, and help people in the community see, yeah, I can give $250 in this year, right? I think that within the year, we'll see a lot.
I think too, we have a survey out now, and when that survey comes back, when it's kind of, we could see prioritize what the community would like to see done first, that could help in
Yeah, that would be huge.
starting that. 'Cause, it's a good idea, we just need someone to help us with that.
Well, if you could meet with our fundraising committee, be part of the fundraising committee and come up, we can strategize on stuff. Because right now, we're, at a standstill. So.
Well, at least the community will see that we're doing something. And I'm like you, if you break it down into just a little bit instead of the overall thing, and just, have the old thermometer going up somewhere by the gauge, the blood gauge part or something, somewhere to see it grow. I get that. That's, people like visual stuff to see what's happening. We just have never gotten that far to do any of that yet.
Right. And during the last meeting, someone said something about, if someone were to give so much, they could get a paver stone or something in the trail or something. Doing things like that really create engagement as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that kind of sparked another question. I can't talk right now. What is the process for getting a tree dedicated in the park? Because there's a lot of parks that actually have a formal, adopt a tree and get a plaque and things like that. And I know we have a few bushes or trees in the park that are set up as memorials, and that's what other parks, they have an actual program for that. I didn't know what the strategy was in the past with if people just came to the city and said, can we plant this tree? Or if we wanted to try to set up something a little bit more formal, because one thing that we'll want to do as we get the park developed more is put in more trees in appropriate places. So I didn't know if that, just throwing it out there, if that's something that we want to consider as we move forward too, is developing an actual program for dedications within the park.
I'm sure. So, and in the past, all they've done is it's been brought up at a park board meeting, and we approved that, yes, the Lurks could plant that tree, then everybody, we just always agreed. We've asked what they were planting, just make sure it was either a native or non-invasive tree or something like that. But
yeah, because what other programs actually do is they actually outline what kind of trees are part of the program. Or other plants, depending on what it is. And so, yeah, I'll buy this tree for a dedication with the plaque. And then I guess either the parks can kind of decide on here are the available locations, pick within that, or here are the available trees if you want to adopt an existing tree or something. Things of that nature, so something to consider as we move forward, to actually outline a formal plan.
Like that. Great idea. I think that'd be really good, especially along the trail. I think a lot of people do that, where you can, when they're walking, they can see.
Okay. Thank you, Ashley. That's a great idea. Anything else? Any other business?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Perfect. I didn't even have to change that.